Madeleine Smith, the eldest of 5 siblings, hailed from an upper-middle-class family in Glasgow. Her father, James Smith, a prosperous architect, and her mother, Elizabeth, the daughter of the renowned neoclassical architect David Hamilton, provided a comfortable upbringing at their residence on 81 Wellington Place. In 1855, the family relocated to 7 Blisswood Square, Glasgow, taking up residence in the lower half of a house owned by Elizabeth's uncle, David Hamilton, a yarn merchant. The move marked a transition to a prominent area, part of a development spearheaded by William Harley on Blisswood Hill. Additionally, the family owned a country property named Rowland near Helensburgh. Smith defied the rigid Victorian norms by engaging in a clandestine romantic relationship with Pierre Emile Langelier, a nurseryman apprentice from the Channel Islands, 10 years her senior. Langelier worked as a packing clerk on Bothwell Street, near the Smiths' residence. Their secret rendezvous took place late at night, often at Smith's bedroom window, complemented by extensive correspondence. Unaware of her involvement with Langelier, Smith's parents arranged a suitable match for her within the Glasgow upper middle class, selecting William Harper Minnock as her fiancé. Attempting to sever ties with Langelier, Smith in February of 1857 requested the return of her letters from him. Instead, Langelier threatened to expose her and compel her into marriage. Subsequently, she was seen at a druggist's office, ordering arsenic under the pseudonym M.H. Smith. Tragically, on the morning of March 23, 1857, Langelier succumbed to arsenic poisoning and was interred at the Ramshorn Cemetery on Ingram Street in Glasgow. Following his demise, authorities discovered Smith's numerous letters at Langelier's lodgings, leading to her arrest and subsequent murder charges. During the trial, Smith was represented by advocate John Inglis, later known as Lord Glencorse. The defense highlighted 2 pivotal elements. Firstly, both druggists testified that they colored their arsenic as a safety measure, a fact not corroborated by the autopsy. Secondly, Langelier's valet attested that Langelier had contemplated suicide on at least one occasion, suggesting a strong inclination toward self-harm. Despite circumstantial evidence suggesting Smith's guilt, such as her arsenic purchase in the weeks leading up to Langelier's death, and a clear motive, the jury delivered a verdict of not guilty on the first count and a verdict of not proven on the second count. The case's crucial aspect centered on the chronology of certain letters from Smith to Langelier. Since the letters lacked dates, the case relied to some extent on the envelopes. It was revealed that when the police searched Langelier's room, many of Smith's letters were found without envelopes and were hastily placed into whatever envelopes were available at the time. In the aftermath of the scandal, Smith's family was compelled to leave their residence in Glasgow, along with their country retreat, Rowland, in Rue. They resettled in Bridge of Allan in central Scotland, and later, in 1860, made another move to Old Polmont. The burden of the entire affair took a toll on her father, who passed away in Polmont in 1863 at the age of 55. On July 4, 1861, Smith entered into matrimony with George Wardle, an artist and business manager of William Morris. Their union resulted in the birth of a son, Thomas, and a daughter, Mary, affectionately known as Kitten. For a period, she actively participated in the Fabian Society in London, displaying keen organizational skills. Under her new married name, not everyone recognized her, but a select few did. After an extensive period of marriage, Smith and her husband parted ways in 1889, prompting Madeleine's relocation to New York City. Around 1916, she entered into a second marriage with William A. Sheehy, a union that endured until his passing in 1926. She later went to America to be with her son, Tom, where she lived in relative obscurity, as she managed to keep her identity and early notoriety a close-guarded secret. She died there in 1928 at the age of 93. Angelina, born around 1883 in Italy, likely in a small town near Naples, had an undisclosed family name. Around 1898, she married Pietro Napolitano, and the couple soon immigrated to America in the early 1900s. Initially residing in New York for 7 years, they later relocated to Canada in 1909. first settling in Thessalon, Ontario, and eventually moving to Sault Ste. Marie. This location boasted a sizable Italian immigrant community. Throughout their marriage, which was marked by turmoil, Pietro subjected Angelina to physical abuse and threats. In November of 1910, the situation reached a violent climax when Pietro attacked Angelina with a pocket knife, inflicting 9 stab wounds to her face, neck, shoulder, chest, and arms, causing severe injuries. Despite being charged with assault, Pietro received a suspended sentence. The couple had 4 children amidst the challenging circumstances. Throughout the winter of 1910, Pietro, who held sporadic employment as a laborer, began pressuring Angelina to generate income for the family through prostitution, aiming to build a house. On Easter Sunday, April 16, 1911, when Angelina was 6 months pregnant, Pietro threatened her with violence, demanding that she engage in prostitution to earn money. He warned her of potential beatings, death, or harm to her unborn child if she failed to comply. Pietro went to sleep, giving her a window of time until he woke up to gather funds. In their top-floor apartment on James Street, that afternoon, as Pietro slept, Angelina, feeling trapped, took an axe and struck him 4 times in the neck and head, resulting in his death. After the act, she immediately confessed to a neighbor, stating, "I just killed a pig," and waited for the arrival of the police. When they came, they found her holding her youngest child, and subsequently charged her with murder. The trial commenced on Monday, May 8, 1911, in Sault Ste. Marie, with Justice Byron Moffat Britton presiding, and Edmund Meredith serving as the Crown Attorney. Upon realizing that Napolitano lacked legal representation, the court adjourned for a day to allow the appointment of a court-assigned lawyer, Uriah McFadden, to prepare the defense. When the trial resumed on Tuesday, May 9th, Meredith presented 9 witnesses to testify to Napolitano's guilt. McFadden, on the other hand, called only Angelina herself, who struggled with the English language. McFadden's defense primarily relied on the battered woman narrative, contending that Pietro's ongoing abuse had driven Angelina to commit the desperate act of murder, citing the November stabbing incident as evidence. However, Britton deemed the November incident inadmissible, stating that accepting it as justification for a killing would lead to complete anarchy. The jury rendered a guilty verdict after only 3 hours of trial time. Despite the jury's recommendation for clemency, Britton sentenced Angelina to hang, as murder mandated a mandatory death sentence. The execution was scheduled for August 9th, precisely 1 month after Napolitano's anticipated due date. Following the media coverage of Angelina's story, a widespread media frenzy ensued, particularly in the United States and Europe, extending beyond Sault Ste. Marie. While some reports leaned on negative racist stereotypes, portraying Napolitano as a hot-blooded foreigner, deserving punishment for her crimes due to her Italian heritage, the majority of the coverage centered on sympathy for the abuse she endured. Many advocated for commuting her sentence to imprisonment, or even a pardon. Numerous letters, including some from Angelina's lawyer, Uriah McFadden, and petitions organized by groups in Sault Ste. Marie, Toronto, New York City, Chicago, England, Austria, and Poland reached the Federal Minister of Justice, Sir Alan Bristol Aylesworth. Dr. Alexander Alto from Ohio even volunteered to be hanged in Angelina's place, emphasizing the unfairness of her perilous situation resulting from a man's persecution. The sentiment resonated with supporters, especially women in the emerging feminist movement, who contended that Pietro's abuse justified the murder as an act of self-defense. Some argued that her fear for the unborn baby's well-being should lead to a pardon, aligning with the prevalent psychological views of the time. Despite the debates, the federal cabinet ultimately commuted Angelina's sentence to life imprisonment on July 14, 1911. Subsequent details about her later life are scarce. She gave birth, but the baby passed away within a few weeks. Her older children were placed in foster homes. Angelina was granted parole on December 30, 1922, after serving 11 years at Kingston Penitentiary. Reportedly, she died on September 4, 1932, in Ontario. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing by clicking the red subscribe button below. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to us. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.